The Hollywood you see on television just died behind the closed doors of Atlanta's most prestigious houses. So stop what you're doing and pay close attention. Legal teams are burning files and phones are being hurled into swimming pools. Why? Because the guys you call idols are about to have their legacies destroyed by a nuclear bomb launched by Jaguar, Wright? Lead to her former spouse. She turned him become the villain. Had he not submitted a move to utilize our full and legal name?
Her ex-husband, she made him the bad guy. The divorce would have never even been out if he didn't file the motion to use our full and legal name. Then she had to go and she had to get new energy. What was she calling him? Her apple pies? Have you seen my apple pies? Did you see my apple pie? Oh my God, you did a love scene with Leonardo DiCaprio.
How was it shooting those scenes with Leo?
It was just work.
The divorce would never have even been finalized. After that, she needed to go and regain her energy. What did she call him? She makes apple pies. Have you had a look at my apple pies? Have you had a look at my apple pie? God, oh God. Leonardo DiCaprio and you performed a romantic scene. How is it working with Leo to shoot such scenes? It was merely labor. This goes beyond mere rumors. This is a biological disaster that will ruin your career. We are discussing an industry-wide sickness that can be traced back to one individual. Teyana Taylor, a secret list and a series of serious health dangers. Snort's Jaguar is more than simply a name caller, a biological web that considers it is being revealed. I saw the most influential men in music and movies, such as Chris Brown, Kanye West, and Drake, abruptly change their ways. Why did Aaron Pierre, a rising talent, appear to have seen a ghost? And the most important query that has the internet in a state of paralysis. How is an Atlanta apple pie incident related to an Oscar winner like Leonardo DiCaprio? Jaguar claims that a murky reality that has been shielded by a covert system of NDAs and hush money is finally coming to light. According to her, these men were more than just romantic partners. A high-level liability affected them, internal alarms, covert medical visits, and a business that treats people like throwaway goods as long as the brand remains pristine are all on the table. You're mistaken if you believe you know the truth about your favorite celebs. This is the first wall fracture that has been concealing something far larger and far more hazardous. We revealed the list tonight. They attempted burial. You must examine Iman Shumpert, the first man in the line of fire, to comprehend the enormity of the virus Jaguar Wright is describing. Iman and Teyana were the final objective in the eyes of the public. They were Atlanta's high-end, high-energy power couple. However, Iman wasn't living a fairy tale behind the scenes. According to Jaguar Wright, his reality was gradually being undermined by the nightmare he was living. Their divorce seemed like a typical celebrity split when the news surfaced. Differences that cannot be reconciled. False. Jaguar draws attention to the most crucial component of the puzzle detail that everyone overlooked. The proposal to adopt complete legal names. When you file for divorce, you try to hide it in the world of the elite. Initials are what you utilize. Yusufegward the brand. However, Eamon did the exact reverse. The legal truth was what he wanted the public to perceive. Why? Jaguar claims that Iman came to the realization that his wife had turned into a conduit for an industry. Energy that he was no longer able to share. According to Jaguar, Teyana Taylor is known by a nickname in the shadowy parts of the business. The apple pie? It has a charming, almost naive sound. However, it has a far greater weight in the coded language of the Atlanta underground. Snorts. According to Jaguar, Teyana's newfound vigor was a shift in risk, rather than merely a change in personality. Iman Shumpert, she claims, was the first to recognize that something was off both physically and spiritually. He saw the circumspect exchanges. As soon as he walked into the room, he became aware of the phone calls that terminated. He saw that the group of individuals in charge of the lady he loved didn't have his or his children's best interests in mind. The transcript indicates that Jaguar does more than simply label Teyana a villain. She describes her as a player with strategy. She explains how Teyana reportedly changed the story so that Iman was portrayed as the villain. Iman was being pulled. If you read the blogs from that era, the one who cheated was him. It was him who was unstable. However, Jaguar poses a terrifying query. Was he responding to a legal and biological threat that he was not permitted to discuss? Or was Iman genuinely unstable? Consider the psychological impact of that. You are a champion and a professional athlete. All of a sudden, you discover that an unknown danger has jeopardized your private life. Jaguar claims that Iman Shumpert's withdrawal from the limelight was a survival strategy, rather than a sign that he had lost interest in the game. He was erecting a perimeter of defense. He noticed the legal teams approaching. He witnessed the drafting of the NDA. Jaguar claims that he was aware that he would be the next to collapse in the spotlight if he didn't leave. What precisely did he discover, though? Iman found a pattern. According to Jaguar, a pattern involving well-known guys that Teyana was allegedly interacting with or serving while pretending to be employed. She brings up the Kanye West and Leonardo DiCaprio connections. What should a guy do when he notices that his wife is the one person in a group of men who are all exhibiting symptoms of worry, paranoia, and medical secrecy? You submit a file. Your name appears on the record. Yes, exactly. And you hope the truth surfaces before you lose all credibility. This is presented by Jaguar as a systemic failing. According to her, the industry showed little concern for Eamon's family or mental health, because movement produces noise, and noise shields the secret. They were primarily concerned about Teyana's capacity to continue moving. Jaguar claims that Teyana traveled, filmed, and attended every fashion week in order to avoid ever having to sit still long enough for the questions to catch up with her. The inquiries did, however, catch up. The other men on the list fell behind them. Eamon was merely the first domino, according to Jaguar. Following him were the younger, more susceptible stars, such as Aaron Pierre, who lacked the seasoned experience necessary to withstand the impending industry warning. Keep Eamon's face in mind as we continue our inquiry. Do you recall his silence? Because, according to Jaguar, silence wasn't an option. It was a cage. Every day, more and more superstars are emerging from this cage. If the veteran who knew when to back off was Eamon, snorts the rising star, Aaron Pierre was blind to the trap until the steel jaws closed. Aaron Pierre is the next big thing in the eyes of the world. A talent-filled powerhouse with a commanding presence. However, Jaguar Wright claims that beneath that well-groomed facade lies a man who is mentally unprepared for the Atlanta Underground's psychological warfare. She talks about a change in him that went beyond heartache. This was a complete breakdown of identity. According to Jaguar, Aaron not only changed but also broke apart following his reported closeness to Teyana Taylor. Consider the playbook of the industry. The machine does not shield a young, up-and-coming talent when they are connected with a high level of liability. It controls the risk. According to Jaguar, Aaron began displaying symptoms of severe anxiousness and bewilderment. Actor anxieties weren't the only thing here. She characterizes it as the inner turmoil experienced by someone who discovers they were a part of something far more significant and sinister than they ever consented to. The transcript indicates that Aaron Pierre's behavior changed in ways that were not consistent with a straightforward separation. According to Jaguar, she discusses anxiety and emotional reliance without providing solutions. Imagine being informed that you are not allowed to discuss your personal experiences by your lawyers, publicists, and team. Imagine having to sign paperwork that transforms your personal life into a prohibited area, snorts according to Jaguar. This is when the psychological damage starts. Jaguar makes a startling observation. You don't get sympathy in Hollywood if you display signs of distress. Isolation greets you. According to her, the business started to portray Aaron's response as unstable. This is a traditional containment strategy. A person's comments lose any impact once they are classified as emotionally unstable or untrustworthy. The blogosphere are already ready to label Aaron as resentful or insane if he speaks out today. According to Jaguar, this is precisely what occurred to Eamon Shumpert. And because Aaron Pierre lacks the same degree of industry armor, it is occurring to him on a deeper level. She explains how his career prospects abruptly started to change. Missed calls, slow responses, and reassessed projects. It's never obvious. You never receive a letter informing you of your punishment. It's a cold, slow distancing instead. You are slowly taken apart till you are too scared to inquire as to why. Aaron, but why? Aaron, but why? Jaguar claims that because he was sincerely seeking connection in a city where everything is transactional, his apple pie experience was especially harmful. Snorts. She claims that at this time, Teyana Taylor was constantly moving. Aaron was left in the silence, attempting to comprehend what had just occurred to him. As he traveled, worked, and was the life of the party. While movement shields the secret, stillness compels you to confront it. Additionally, according to Jaguar, Aaron had to confront a truth that would shatter a typical individual. Jaguar refers to this as the industry warning. It's a warning to anyone else who might consider going too far. According to her, Aaron Pierre turned into a real-life illustration of what occurs when you don't quickly adjust your public persona. She asserts that his anxiousness sprang from a fear of the future rather than just the past. The world becomes a very small place. When you understand that the quiet of those who don't care whether you survive or not is what keeps your career together, it's a small space. Jaguar makes it clear that neither one woman nor one male is the focus of this. It concerns a system that views people as the celebrity's disposable resource device, according to her. The industry purposefully kept Aaron Pierre silent until he could be reprogrammed into a safer version of himself by having him withdraw under the ambiguous pretext of personal reasons. However, Jaguar cautions that some things are invisible. Certain mental and spiritual illnesses don't simply disappear because a publicist created a fresh story. We must wonder whether this happened to Aaron and what happened to the men who have been in this game for decades. As we move on to the following names on the list, such as Chris Brown and Drake, although the machine is strong, Jaguar Wright is placing a wager that the truth will prevail over quiet. Because Aaron Pierre's suffering was too obvious to conceal, she claims he is the wall crack, and the entire Atlanta underground timeline begins to resemble a murder scene. If you start examining the dates and the changes in his energy, you are no longer just a person when you achieve the level of Chris, Brown, or Drake. You are an infrastructure worth billions of dollars. You have groups of people whose sole responsibility is to ensure that you never trip, fall, or become exposed. According to Jaguar Wright, the virus from the A could not be kept out by even the largest fortifications in the planet. According to her, the names Drake and Chris Brown entered this discussion due to a private overlap and a shared connection to Teyana Taylor that was never intended to be recorded. Not because of a public occurrence. Any fan would find it disturbing to hear Jaguar make this distinction. This isn't about cooperation on public music, she says. The concealed thread is at issue. Jaguar implies in the transcript that it is rarely a coincidence when influential people steer clear of the same subject. Why has Drake, a man with a song about every ex-girlfriend and every feud, purposefully kept quiet about the particular accusations involving Teyana? What is the reason behind Chris Brown's unexpected inclusion in a protective perimeter? Given his reputation for chaotic and frequently unfiltered energy, according to Jaguar, the industry concealed this overlap by using access as a weapon. According to her, Drake and Chris Brown belonged to a group where people did not discuss risk. Consider the ramifications for the law of that. If you put someone at risk without their awareness, it's a lawsuit in any other industry. But it's just another in Hollywood. According to Jaguar, a troubling pattern connecting Teyana and these well-known guys was quietly discussed for years. However, the reaction lacked transparency once the issues were brought to light. Was the control of harm? She paints a picture of a world without calendars, where phone conversations take the place of text messages. This characterizes a cover-up in the industry. According to Jaguar, Drake and Chris Brown began to exhibit the same distance that we witnessed with Amanj, just a gradual withdrawal. No controversies, no headlines. Take a look at when they have been absent from public. Consider the times when they were out of reach. According to Jaguar, these were the times when the legal teams were forming stories before processing feelings. NDAs turned to become shields rather than safeguards, she says. This is a strong argument. Jaguar contends that, in this instance, the NDA was utilized to keep these men from knowing the facts, even though it is meant to safeguard a secret. She asserts only a few individuals have access to certain documents, messages, and insider confirmations. According to reports, these documents provide an explanation for why certain relationships terminated abruptly, and why projects were subtly postponed for private reasons. She asserts that their motivations were always strategic rather than personal. Jaguar talks about the role that the media ecosystem plays. She claims that while bloggers and journalists acknowledge the seriousness of the story, they also understand the cost to their careers. You will lose access to the world's biggest star if you put too much pressure on Drake's staff. You are shut out of the Atlanta scene if you question Teyana's group. According to Jaguar, the stories went into legal review and were never heard from again. The silent infrastructure operates in this manner. It is a containment-oriented machine, limiting fear, limiting liability, and limiting questions that nobody wants to be asked aloud. She presents this as a systematic breakdown in which trust is subtly compromised in order to maintain the illusion. Consider the past of Chris Brown. The media is already targeting him. That's what Jaguar recommends for someone like him. His credibility is already shaky, making his involvement in this circumstance considerably riskier. She suggests that, not because he had done anything wrong, he was subtly told to keep his distance, but because being close became risky in and of itself. Drake, who takes great satisfaction in being the brightest person in the room, comes next. According to Jaguar's accusations, even the most intelligent gamer can be controlled. When the brand is at risk due to biological or legal repercussions, in order to maintain Drake's polished public image despite his changing private life, she says the industry orchestrated a well-known playbook. She claims that movement is the best diversion. Teyana continued to move. Drake continued to move. Chris continued to move. No one pays attention to the medical reports as long as the music is playing and the tours are selling out. Or the settlements reached in court. Jaguar Wright remained still. People were left emotionally broken while the machine ran smoothly all around them, she claims, which is why she is speaking. She is drawing attention to the moral boundary that separates coercion from strategy. The public has just seen the surface layer, she cautions. Chris Brown and Drake's mutual quiet isn't an indication of pressure or petties. Jaguar claims that secret loses its potency once it is named. Furthermore, the silent overlap is beginning to appear as a clear and unmistakable warning for the industry's future as the dots continue to join. This is a significant management effort for the two biggest music titans. In reality, who is in charge? The temperature of the discourse didn't just drop when Jaguar moved from the rough streets of the Atlanta underworld to the high-gloss hills of Hollywood. It froze. The stakes went from a local hip-hop scandal to a worldwide trust disaster the instant she mentioned Leonardo DiCaprio. The A is no longer the exclusive topic of discussion. We are discussing the pinnacle of the world power pyramid, since proximity is just as deadly as a burning pistol in the realm of elite reputations. Jaguar didn't need to make a direct charge. Every talent agency, law company, and movie studio in the Western world was rocked by the idea that an Oscar winner of his stature was even associated with this purportedly compromised network. Specifically alludes to the time when DiCaprio and Teyana Taylor were filming together at Jaguar. It was just a well-known career to the general public. Teyana's signing signified her eventual entry into the A-list movie industry. Teyana gave a slick, businesslike, and contemptuous response when asked about their private moments. It was merely labor. However, Jaguar Wright claims that work is the ultimate shroud at the shadowy core of the company. It is the ideal cover for otherwise tightly restricted access. According to Jaguar, these sets are more than just places for creativity. These are settings where confidential agreements and high-level NDAs are signed long before the cameras begin to film. The transcript claims that the addition of a name like DiCaprio represents a complete activation of the crisis response structure inside the industry. The containment of panic is the sole function of this highly advanced gadget. In the world portrayed by Jaguar, legal advisors arrive first, followed right away by reputation experts who specialize in hiding unpleasant facts. She claims that the industry did not react with openness or concern when concerns were first voiced in private. Over the unknown dangers connected to this circle, it was an instantaneous, cold, and deliberate attempt to defend the building, not the people. Jaguar portrays this as a systematic failing in which the brand is supreme and the loss of human capital is simply tolerable. According to her, there is a repository of documents, including medical records and court settlements, that are not intended for general public access. It is said that these records are kept in a location that is only accessible by a small number of gatekeepers. Why? Because the film studios concerned would experience a market collapse if what Jaguar refers to as biological and legal culpability regarding a global icon were made public. We are discussing billions of money invested, future initiatives, and the machine's legacy branding. The truth is costly in addition to being hazardous. Jaguar creates a story on psychological loneliness. Non-disclosure agreements, she contends, are being employed as psychological weapons. You are compelled to internalize the trauma when you are involved in a scenario that you are not legally allowed to talk about. The fracture starts at this point. According to Jaguar, the industry depends on this quiet since it is easier to control someone who is divided. When they begin to falter, the industry merely labels them as unstable or untrustworthy. According to two Jaguars, this silent undermining occurred frequently not via public accusations, but rather through subtly perceived professional distance, missed opportunities, and abrupt withdrawals into personal time. She also highlights the media ecosystem's culpability, claims that, although high-profile blogs and big news organizations have long recognized the seriousness of the DiCaprio connection, the professional risk of investigating it was too great. A journalist overly challenges a juggernaut or titan like Leo. Group. They lose their livelihood, their interviews, and their press privileges, just like Teyana did. According to Jaguar, reports went through legal review and were never heard from again. The silent infrastructure keeps control in this way. It makes use of access as a tool. You are frozen out when you speak. Because of this, the internet, which typically becomes fixated on every little detail about celebrities, oddly moved on from these particular breadcrumbs. It was not indifference. It served as an example of influence. Jaguar's caution is obvious. There isn't a gossip crisis in Hollywood, is confronted with the illusion's complete breakdown. She contends that the signs have been recognized by the general population for years. Abrupt splits without warning. Projects that are perpetually delayed, IS stars disappearing at their prime and then reappearing with a revised public image. It's not a coincidence. According to Jaguar, those are the wounds from the confinement procedure. She contends that people were informed that speaking up would be detrimental to their jobs, and were specifically instructed to seek private advice. This is the DiCaprio gravity of force so powerful that it distorts reality to suit the story. According to Jaguar, the network is extensive and well-established, as seen by the close association of such a strong name with the Atlanta apple pie accusations, because the first fracture in the wall has already formed. She depicts the situation as a reckoning that the industry cannot totally control. The confinement is weakened once the secrecy is named. Jaguar stresses that a single headline or a viral popular cultural moment won't cause the most catastrophic harm. As she wraps up this portion of her expose, music it will result from the public's gradual, painful awareness that their confidence was betrayed long before the truth was ever revealed. She asserts that in order to carry out a controlled narrative, the industry coordinated a well-known script. However, that strategy is failing because the human cost is now too obvious to overlook. These people now appear guilty because of the quiet that once shielded their reputations. The rule of quiet is finally being challenged by a more powerful and dangerous force in the hills of Hollywood and the city of Atlanta. In actuality, the industry machine depends on predictability in times of crises. It makes the assumption that everyone will comply if you pay enough individuals, sign enough non-disclosure agreements, and threaten enough careers. However, Jaguar Wright claims that when the containment strategy ran across Kanye West, it hit a brick block. According to Jaguar's disclosure transcript, Kanye is the biggest fear in the industry. Snorts not because he contributes to the issue, but because he is the only one who deviates from the solution's blueprint. Jaguar claims that the industry doesn't simply panic but rather goes into a complete defensive breakdown when someone who has previously been classified as unpredictable enters a position involving unknown medical and legal hazards. Jaguar portrays Kanye West as the ultimate wildcard in this Atlanta web. She implies that Kanye's protection is never the goal of the industry's reaction to him. It's to keep him away from the building. She suggests that Kanye's well-known tantrums and unrestrained outbursts are frequently the only instances in which the truth unintentionally is out. According to Jaguar, men like Chris Brown and Drake have been forced into a quiet overlap. Kanye is an unabated witness because of his close relationship with Teyana, a woman he produced, mentored, and had a long working relationship with. According to her, the industry's aggressive branding of Kanye as unstable is a calculated move to make sure that no one will believe him if he ever reveals the whole story of the medical alarms and the apple pies. Jaguar claims that this component of the containment infrastructure is the most hazardous. A hierarchy of silencing is in place. They use the money after using the lawyers. The last step is deplatforming through character assassination. If you are too powerful to be sued and too wealthy to be bought, Jaguar contends that Hollywood's treatment of Kanye is a perfect example of the trust crisis the industry is currently experiencing. According to her, the industry fears a crazy man speaking the truth more than a sane man lying. Jaguar delves further into the A's and its Hollywood counterpart's structural flaws. She talked about the silent infrastructure that views people as disposable fuel for a considerable amount of time. Teyana Taylor is not the only one with this issue. Jaguar presents it as a systemic culture that puts financial gain ahead of morality. She claims that for every A-list celebrity such as DiCaprio or Drake, there are dozens of supporting characters, co-stars, assistants, and up-and-coming talent who were subtly told to avoid them. They became dangerously close, not because they did anything wrong. This is referred to as coercive silence. A society in which remaining silent doesn't require a gun threat. When she is nearing the end of her expose, you are being threatened with your entire future. Jaguar's tone changes from one of disclosure to one of ominous caution. According to her, the chaotic divorces, cryptic tweets, and abrupt project delays that we have witnessed thus far are only the outermost layer of a much broader system. She claims that documentation can be found in timeframes and patterns of conduct, in addition to paper records. She asks the audience to consider how these celebrities' lives have changed. Why did they appear broken while the machine surrounding them kept functioning properly? According to Jaguar, the largest error made by the industry was to underestimate memory. When a celebrity disappears for 6 months with no apparent reason, fans remember it. Audiences remember when a seemingly stable power couple breaks up in a few days while operating behind a veil of legal secrecy. Jaguar makes one terrifyingly obvious point. Internal pressure is already being felt by the business. Conversations have changed, she claims. The length of meetings has decreased. Language is more circumspect. It is no longer a secret that the infrastructure is silent. It's a liability. She says this concealment is no longer effective because she named it. She presents Atlanta's current hip-hop scene as a reckoning motivated by fatigue. People are fed up with seeing the truth become so distorted by legalese that it no longer reflects reality. Jaguar responded to her own criticism in the last few minutes of her live broadcast. She is aware of the term bitter. Although she is aware that she is characterized as unstable or a clout chaser, she enjoys the criticism. Why? She enjoys the criticism. Why? Because, in her words, it is simpler to discredit the messenger than to destroy the message. She maintains that the narrative is not hers. It is the property of the marginalized individuals. It belongs to the managed titans like Iman Shumpert and the broken people like Aaron Pierre. Shumpert Jaguar's final decision on the end. of silence is the most disturbing aspect of her narrative. She cautions that dramatic headlines won't be the next step. A cumulative collapse will occur. Small affirmations, spontaneous moments, and abrupt changes that deviate from the standard PR narrative will be the focus. She suggests that secrecy-based institutions inevitably come to contradict themselves, and Hollywood is about to enter an uncontrollable moment. At this point, the story becomes a mirror rather than an amusement. According to Jaguar, the harm has already been done. Long before the truth was revealed to anyone, trust was given up. Furthermore, no amount of image management can restore that confidence after it has been lost. She talks on how timing and behavior can cause little decisions to abruptly stop making sense, resulting in a silent leak of truth. The world is now observing from a different angle. Whether it be a quick withdrawal from the spotlight or a reserved discussion in a VIP booth, Jaguar Wright has a straightforward, chilling warning for the industry: stillness exposes yet movement shields. Additionally, the business is currently at a loss for new locations. She ends by stating that silence does not erase memory and celebrity does not erase consequences. The framework that relied on us all accepting imperfect realities is eroding. Enough to alter everything, but not all at once. It's not only about Leo, Drake, or Teyana. It has to do with a society that views people as expendable resources until they are no longer useful. Jaguar Wright adds that she's only just beginning. We must question ourselves if we can afford the price of our amusement as we wrap up this in-depth exploration of the Atlanta underground. And the lists Jaguar Wright says are about to blow up. We have examined the timelines, the changes have been seen. Jaguar writes, revelations aren't just about tea or gossip. They are a challenge to the system. She is letting us know that the most dangerous secrets aren't those that end careers. As evidenced by Aaron Pyre's energy, Iman Shumpert's strategic retreat, and the high containment surrounding the titans like Drake and DiCaprio. They are the ones who silently change people's lives and follow them home. This article has caused you to feel uneasy. Excellent. It should. Aimed at making you wonder why, in a city founded on the loudest music in the world, stillness is so highly rewarded. You are now a part of the discourse that the business is attempting to silence if you have followed us through all 5 sections of this inquiry. It's not over yet. There's a pause, snorts because there are additional details. There are more relationships. Additionally, as Jagger claims that only when everyone decides to stop searching will the truth be revealed. Keep looking. A person who needs to see the reality behind the red carpet should watch this video. So be sure to share it. We'll be right here to cover the collapse when the next domino falls. So subscribe to keep vigilant. Thank you for viewing. Don't close your eyes. The truth will soon be revealed.